Well, greetings all, and welcome to a celebration of a new era, the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Let's hear it, everyone. Yay! Raise your glasses, give a cheer, clap your hands, jump up and down, do a little nerd dance. Well, we heard it best from the Bible and Biden when Biden said, quoting from the Bible, "Weeping may endure for the night, but joy hath come in the morning." And what a joyous morning it was. I'm Jonathan Kruk with the Philipstown Democrats, here to help us all toast and celebrate our new president and vice president, because after 4 years of feeling fear, we need a little bit of celebration now. But the National Youth Poet Laureate, Amanda Gorman, put it best when she said, "We ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade?" Well, Joe Biden gave us the answer with this question: what are the common objects we as Americans love that define us as Americans and that define us as residents of Philipstown? Now, he went on and answered the question by urging unity, urging us here to see one another not as adversaries, but as neighbors. And here in Philipstown, we are famed for being neighborly. And thus, the Philipstown Democrats, spearheaded by our chair, Janice Hogan, gather together some of the hopes, aspirations, and dreams that we're going to invest in our new leadership in this new era. And we put it together in a little film for you. But before that, I'm going to share a few little stories from in and around Philipstown, hearkening back to an earlier day to give us guidance as we forge ahead. And I'll give you a little hint. I'm kind of in a certain general of the Continental Army's hoodie right now. And so come along as we follow Washington. Greetings all, I'm Jonathan Kruk on Inauguration Day here in the village of Cold Spring with a special message from a visitor who came here a long while ago and did something more than just drink from a spring nearby. That visitor brought us a message that we can use today. His name, General George Washington. Greetings all. Welcome to St. Philip's Church in the Hudson Highlands. During the dark days of the American Revolution, an angry mob gathered, crying, "There's the church of that Tory Beverly Robinson. He wants King George III. And in that church, those who worship the tyrant convene. Burn it down! Burn it down!" Well, passing down the road, there happened another George, General George Washington. He climbed off of his horse and addressed the mob, crying out to the spokesman, "That, sir, is my church." And simply by seeing the sheer presence of George Washington, they set aside their torches and let the church stand, though the church was taken down so that the materials could be used to help fortify things over at West Point. But the example of Washington's character quelling the mob, that lives on. George Washington called the Hudson River the key to the American Revolution. Over at West Point was the lock, a great chain stretched across the river to prevent the British from dividing the colony in two. But Washington did his part to hold the nation together. In 1783, a little bit north of Newburgh at New Windsor Cantonment, there was a gathering storm. Officers meeting to discuss what were they going to do about Congress not paying them. Congress, of course, had no money at the time. The officers grew agitated. They were having to whip their men for going out to forage and take what they could put into their stew pots from nearby farms. On the day of the meeting, Washington surprised all by showing up. A bold officer named Major John Armstrong accosted Washington. "Sir," says he, "suffer me to ask, what do you intend to do? Send us back to our homes with only our wants, our infirmaries, and our scars?" Washington paused. "I intend to attend your meeting." They had to let him speak. He said, "I've heard about various things. This monarchy scheme of yours to make someone like me king, I view it with abhorrence. And these calls to march upon Philadelphia and take over from Congress, why, it sounds like a sowing of the seeds of discord. The eyes of the world are upon us, wanting to see what we will do with our newfound freedom and how we will shape this democracy into a form of perfection perhaps never before seen by humanity. Now, gentlemen, I have something to give you hope." And he reached into his pocket and pulled out a letter from a congressman in Virginia. The men began to bristle and even boo. Washington struggled with the letter, and then he did something rarely done in 1753. He made a spectacle of himself and said, "Gentlemen, pardon me as I put on my spectacles, for my hair has grown gray and my eyes weak, fighting for our cause for liberty and independence." And then he read the letter, but no one heard. They only thought, "Here's Washington making a spectacle of himself. You only wore glasses in those days in front of dearest friends and family." And that's how he considered those officers. And many began to weep, thinking of all of the trials and tribulations where Washington was there with them. And by the time he finished reading that letter, there would be no march on Philadelphia to take over from Congress. Washington, by that simple gesture of putting on his glasses, quelled the rebellion, prevented a coup, and held together the new nation, giving perhaps our new president a little map, a bit of guidance for how now to govern. During the American Revolution in the winter of 1778, this hill and parts a little south of here were filled with troops camping from different new states. The winter was harsh, but what was really harsh was the pandemic of smallpox. Washington ordered that his men be inoculated as soon as they enlisted. He said, "I wish to avoid a grim and melancholic situation." Many resisted. Some even protested and mutinied, fearing that the vaccinations might cause them to die. But Washington persisted and made sure that in spite of all of those protestings, that the men would be inoculated. Thus, he protected their health and helped bring about the uniting of those states, giving us a template for the path now ahead of us as we face another pandemic. Thank you. I'm Jonathan Kruk. for the Philipstown Democrats.
The day is broke, my boys march on and follow Washington. 'Tis he that leads the way, my boys, 'tis he that leads the way. Where he commands, we shall obey, through rain and snow, by night and day. Determined to be free, my boys, determined to be free. With heart and hand and God our trust, we'll freely fight our causes just. March on, my boys, march on and follow Washington.
Was for John F. Kennedy, and I have voted for. My first vote for president was for John F. Kennedy, and I have voted for every single Democratic candidate since. What can we say? It's the dawn of a new day, and we're all going to hope that we can put the misery of the last 4 years behind us.
And to me, the inauguration means having somebody who will work with us to confront the many direct and immediate threats to our countrymen's lives. These threats are both new, like the coronavirus, and old, like white supremacy. No single leader can wave a magic wand and solve these crises. But at least on the 20th, we will have someone who is committing to working with us to address them rather than enabling them.
My name is James Plummer from Cold Spring, New York, and Joe and Kamala will change America. It'll be great for us.
My name is Jamel Gaines, and this inauguration for President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris is about unifying the country. It's about getting this worldwide pandemic under control. It's about stabilizing the economy, not just for one group of people, but for all people. This inauguration is around unifying the country.
Ever since the election, I have been looking forward to a peaceful transition of power on January 20th. The inauguration of Joseph Biden as president represents a return to honesty, integrity, dignity, and respect. The fact that Kamala Harris will also be inaugurated as the first female vice president truly marks a new day filled with hope and inspiration. This is an opportunity for the country to unite and heal. May peace and the happiness of all living beings prevail.
Kamala and Joe represent hope to me. Hope for change, hope that we're going to be able to get this virus under control, hope that climate change is going to be taken seriously, hope that the rule of law is going to be able to be applied equitably to everyone, hope for a return to dignity and the values that I was raised to believe were the foundation of American democracy are returned, and that racial and gender equality are going to be incorporated as they should have been from the very beginning. And I hope that our children are going to be able to see what a woman, especially a woman of color, can do in this country. And I'm hoping that the momentum of change that we started with this presidential election, we can bring home to Putnam County and our local government, which needs to incorporate these very same values.
As a proud Canadian and a grateful permanent resident of the United States, I'm so excited that America chose the higher road of Joe Biden for president and Kamala Harris for vice president. Your neighbors in the north, south, and all around the world are celebrating today. When I first moved here, we couldn't afford health care. I couldn't believe it. But thanks to Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and all the people that fought for it, we have health care today. And I know they'll make it even better. so everyone will have health care. I'm also hopeful because Joe Biden chose Deb Haaland, a Native American woman, for Secretary of Interior. And like we did in Canada, where we had a Truth and Reconciliation session, I believe that this country should have a Truth and Reconciliation with the Native people that were here first, and with all the Black African Americans who were enslaved and are still suffering under racism. I feel we have so many issues that we have to deal with right now, but Kamala and Joe represent unity and diversity.
Hi, my name is Roman Marinum.
And I'm Liam.
And the reason we're excited for Joe Biden's inauguration is because we're happy to have a president who's going to focus on bringing this country together.
For the last 4+ years, like a lot of people, I've been living under a cloud of fear that we'd lose our nation's democracy if Trump stayed in power. Having worked really hard to get Joe Biden elected, registering voters and making calls, writing letters and postcards, I am now breathing a big sigh of relief. And I'm thrilled that we've bought ourselves 4 years to do the work of shoring up democracy.
This election, Democrats worked tirelessly to get out the vote, and all that hard work paid off. It's clear we can move mountains when we work together. Even with the backdrop of violence and division at the U.S. Capitol, I believe President Biden and Vice President Harris will move America forward with thoughtful responses to the pandemic, climate change, economic policy reform, and social and racial justice. I look forward to the Biden-Harris administration and to working with all of you to create a more peaceful, equitable, and sustainable future.
For me, it's the end of a very dark time in American history. It is a return to morality, to decency and compassion. And it's me having the ability to look at my daughter of Indian immigrants and tell her for a fact that she can be anything she wants in the United States of America. It's a happy, happy day.
Congratulations to Joe and Kamala. Yay! Our new president and vice president. We're really excited and we're really happy. And thank you, John Patrick Maloney, for doing such a great job supporting us in these hard times. Thank you.
Hard times, beautiful times. We're gonna make it. Yay!
Well, thank you all for your contributions there. Now, when we watched the inauguration, and personally, I found it to be the best one that I ever saw, I enjoyed the music. We all did. What a rendition of the Star Spangled Banner by Lady Gaga, and J-Lo doing This Land Is Your Land, and Garth Brooks getting us to sing along with him. But here in Philipstown, as well, you know, we have an abundance of musical talent. So we're going to let Open Book, Rick and Michelle Gedney, regale you with a couple of songs.
Hey, thanks, Jonathan.
Hey, thanks so much. We're so happy to be here, and it's been a day that's been a long time coming, and we're just so happy to be beyond this dark time. So we're going to play a song for you. It's an original, and it's called Safe and Sound. Is there room here in your mind where you put your fear to disappear? I'm praying we'll stand our ground. I'm praying we're safe and sound right now. Is there faith enough? Is there faith enough to dream? Is there peace enough? Is there peace enough to believe? When it feels like holding on is just holding on to only I'm praying we'll stand our ground. I'm praying we're safe and sound. It's all I can do, and I'm praying we're safe and sound right now. Thank you. And,
Hey, all right. There's clapping. We're not used to that when we play online.
That's
Out of
great.
ether. Well, this next song is a little bit more upbeat and about looking forward.
So I wrote this song as a New Year's resolution to myself last year, and I found myself getting overwhelmed by all of the bad news, and I made it my resolution to get outside and appreciate nature and try to think positively. So this
Now, we
song,
live here in Philipstown, so there's an abundance of beauty.
Exactly.
You can't go wrong.
so this song is called January Knows. January 1, coffee and the messages I've sent to me. January 2, I take them for a walk into the What about the cold? What about the ice and snow? What about the faith that lets me take your open hand? I'm going with you now. I'm going with you now. January seas, I'm setting my intention to be listening. And January leaves a map to all the spaces I'm recovering. And look how beautiful the blue reflecting in a cloudless sky. Look how beautiful the wings are showing us the way to fly. I promise you I will see it now. I will see it now. I will see it now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
Right.
Thank you all for your work this last 4 years. It's been quite a ride, but we're really happy that things have turned out in the end. Yes.
It was a man from Garrison who coined the phrase, think globally, but act locally. And now we're going to get the local perspective from our town supervisor, Richard Shea, and our council member, John Van Tassel.
Hello, everyone. This is really nice. I mean, I didn't realize it was going to be such a production. This is great. Well, it feels like we can all exhale now after holding our breath for 4 years. The four horsemen have gone back underground. The apocalypse is not happening now. And, you know, I know everyone thinks the same thing, that it's been like a nightmare that you could not awaken from. It's been unreal. The past 4 years have literally felt like being held hostage. And our country, you know, America, became unrecognizable. We had no idea what was lurking in the dark places. And, you know, the hurt that's been inflicted is real. And injury dealt through words and actions, injury to our national psyche, injury to so many people of color, injury to so many who were just senselessly murdered. And I don't want to be a drag about this, but this needs to be said, and it needs to be said a lot in order for us to recover. An injury of neglect when Donald Trump ignored warnings about the pandemic, and now 400,000 people in America are dead and countless dead all over the world. And the world looks to America to lead. And when we don't lead, it creates a vacuum, and that hurts people. Failure to lead at a time when America needed a leader most. All wounds will heal, but not without care. We need to care for them, and not without change, and not without learning from our mistakes that created the conditions for the tragedy of the last 4 years. And like all wounds, this time will leave a scar. I have plenty, and everybody here has plenty. I mean, it was a jarring time. And when you look in the rearview mirror, it just is a blur. It was just nonstop. We need to look at that scar every day to remember, and we need to find a new way to relate to one another, because the way we've been doing it for the past 4 years has certainly not worked. We need to be mindful of how fortunate we are to have the opportunity to heal, while remembering that healing is an active process. So it's really important at this time to be mindful. We need to rehabilitate our nation, and that's a big job. You know, the diversity of this country is our strength. The patchwork quilt that is America is what makes this country so beautiful. Divisiveness that threatens the fabric cannot and should not be tolerated. And as we've seen, divisiveness that incites violence is the road to destruction. And there must be severe consequences for attempts to ruin the promise of America when there is so much promise. The promise of this country can only be realized with real leadership. And this is not a job that can be accomplished by a few people. As amazing as Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are, and as good as they are, they cannot do all the work alone. Each and every one of us must lend a hand, and we must be our best selves. Kindness should not be viewed as weakness. Intelligence and experience must be respected, while also respecting differences of opinion. And I don't know if you took a note over the past 4 years, but intelligence is a commodity that's been in extremely short supply. But intelligence is something we need gravely right now. And it's hard to get smart people to step up when they look at the dumpster fire that has been going on for the last 4 years. You know, smart people don't want to get involved in these things. And right now we need smart people to lead us out of this. And it feels like there's been a real loss of respect for a depth of knowledge. And that's a dangerous place to be. It's not a good place. You know, we need to realize, and this is, I think, of all the strengths that I have and that I've gained over the last 20 years of being in office, is recognizing that there are a lot of smart people out there, and you need to bring them in, and you need to hear from them. You need to hear opinions from everyone. But in the end, it takes really smart people to lead us out of this. So now we seem to face these complex and intractable problems that will require these smart people to solve. We need to make sure that those people are tapped as leaders and to help our new president and vice president succeed. I wish them every success. I wish them fulfillment in their work, but most of all, I wish them peace, peace of mind and peace at heart when they go to bed at night, because this has been a very, very rough time. So let's remember to breathe. Let's remember to get outside. It's important. Get outside to clear our heads. We are so fortunate to be in an area that's so beautiful, and you can walk out your door and experiencing that at all times to get all this out of your head and get it behind us. But also, let's remember to celebrate this moment, because if you hadn't noticed, it's a really big deal. It's a really big deal, and we need to appreciate that. So I am just breathing a sigh of relief and feeling so much better today, after being freed from this hostage situation that we've been held in for the past 4 years. So thank you so much, everyone, for turning out. Thank you for the presenters, the performers. It's really, really uplifting. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm up, Jonathan, I guess. Thank you, first of all, to Janice, Jonathan, Richard, and the Philipstown Democrats for hosting this evening's celebration. And I wish we could actually all be together in one room. What a great party it would be. We've been on an incredible emotional roller coaster for the past few months. And this is a celebration tonight, but I plan to celebrate cautiously. I watched the ceremony from the Lincoln Memorial last night, and it's really hard to comprehend that 400,000 Americans have died over the past 12 months, and we still have a long winter ahead. It was, however, refreshing and emotional to watch and listen to our president and vice president last night and be proud of what they had to say. It's been 4 long years since we could say that. I was fortunate enough to be able to catch a small portion of the inauguration today on my lunch break. I heard President Biden and the amazing poem from Amanda Gorman. It was not easy for me to explain to my crew why my eyes were watering when I went back to work. It was the sawdust, it was the wind. 12 years ago, when I first ran for town board, I can recall a meeting at Dottie Gilman's house, I'm sorry. The rules were clear. We don't criticize our opponent and we don't get in the mud. We tout our accomplishments and our plans. That model has worked here in Philipstown for a long, long time. The Democrats of Philipstown have won every town office they have contested, and I hope to keep that rolling. If nothing else, the actions of Donald Trump have unified and energized the Democrats like never before. Our capital being overrun by thugs carrying Trump flags and worse should keep us energized for years. I look forward to the next 4 years and working with all of you over the next year and for years to come. Hard work and honesty will always prevail and will always win. God bless our new president and vice president, and thank you very much.
All right. Woo!
We did it, Joe. You're gonna be the next president of the United States.
The dark cloud is now leaving us. We have light. We see light.
So I've been crying all morning. I think it's relief, but it's so much hope for our country.
Oh my God. Here we are in Twin Peaks, and Joe Biden just won the election.
All alone, nobody's here.
Well, everyone, in just a moment, we're going to bring on a little more spirited music to lift our hearts and all. But after listening to John and Richard, I have a couple of little quotes from Biden's inaugural speech to spur us on. Are we going to step up, all of us? It's time for boldness, for there is so much to do. Together, we shall write an American story of hope, not fear, of unity, not division, of light, not darkness, a story of decency and dignity, love and healing, greatness and goodness. And now we're going to hear from a wonderful duo, a father and daughter, Jim and Mary Malakos. Oh, here we go.
What is a tree?
Damn it.
That's a tough one.
At night I wonder, do my tears of morning sink beneath the sun? She's got a suffer universe gone quickly, for the call of thunder threatens everyone. And I
All right, thanks. Was Jim and Mary Mekalakos, and I've been delighted, honored to be serving tonight as MC for this celebration. And I'm going to lift a glass and hope for the best, not only for our nation, but for Philipstown and the world with this new era coming upon us. So here, and let's celebrate, but celebrate by continuing to get to work here.